rookie who shocked the NBA? Nobody saw this coming. Not the fans in San Antonio, not the analysts on national television, and certainly not the reigning two-time MVP standing on the other side of the court. Because just a few nights earlier, Carter Bryant looked like a kid whose confidence had been shattered. A 20-year-old rookie. A first-year player trying to survive the biggest stage of his life. A young man who had just been publicly called out by his own head coach in the middle of the Western Conference Finals. He looked overwhelmed. He looked emotional. For a moment, it looked like the pressure had finally caught up to him. But what happened next changed everything. 2 games later, that same rookie stared directly into the eyes of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the face of the defending champions, the reigning back-to-back MVP, the man many considered the best player in basketball. And Carter Bryant didn't back down. He didn't hesitate. He didn't play scared. Instead, he attacked the moment with a fearlessness that instantly sent shockwaves across the NBA world. The clips exploded across social media. Fans couldn't believe what they were watching. Who was this kid? Where did this confidence come from? How could someone who nearly broke down under the spotlight suddenly become one of the biggest stories of the playoff? But here's the truth. This isn't just a story about a rookie making a viral play. It's a story about failure. It's a story about leadership. It's a story about the type of culture championship organizations build behind closed doors. Because while the basketball world was obsessed with Victor Wembanyama versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, while everyone focused on the collision between 2 future legends, another story was quietly unfolding in the shadow. A story nobody expected. A story that may have revealed the true future of the San Antonio Spurs. One young player was humiliated. One franchise superstar chose compassion instead of criticism. And one unforgettable moment transformed doubt into belief. Tonight, we're diving deep into how Carter Bryant went from being the rookie everyone questioned to becoming the rookie nobody can stop talking about. And trust me, by the end of this story, you might look at the future of the NBA very different. Because this isn't only about Victor Wembanyama. It isn't only about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It isn't even only about Carter Bryant. It's about what happens when talent meets adversity. It's about what greatness looks like before the world recognizes it. And it's about the exact moment a future star realizes he belongs. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from tonight. Which city, which state, which country is representing in the comments. And here's another question for all the real basketball fans. If you believe Carter Bryant is the real deal and could become a major piece of the Spurs' future, comment 1 below. If you think this was just one emotional playoff moment and nothing more, comment 2. And if you love NBA stories that go beyond the box score, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because some of the biggest stories in basketball aren't the ones making headlines. They're the ones nobody sees coming. The night everything almost fell apart. Before Carter Bryant became the rookie everyone was talking about, he had to survive the kind of moment that can break a young player. Game 4 was supposed to be another step forward for San Antonio. The Spurs were fighting the Oklahoma City Thunder in a series filled with pressure, noise, and national attention. Every possession mattered. Every mistake felt bigger. Every young player on that floor knew one bad decision could follow him for days. And for Carter Bryant, that bad stretch came fast. He tried to force the issue in transition. He saw a lane. He attacked. But instead of creating a momentum play, he crashed into the defense and picked up an offensive foul. The whistle blew. The crowd reacted, and Bryant knew immediately that he had made the wrong read. His face said everything. This was not just frustration. This was a rookie realizing that the biggest stage in basketball does not forgive hesitation, panic, or rushed decisions. Then things got worse. Another mistake, another foul, another possession where his energy was there, but his control was not. In less than 2 minutes, Bryant went from trying to help his team to becoming the player his coach had to pull from the game. And Mitch Johnson did not hide his reaction. He lit into him on the sideline, not quietly, not gently, not in a way the cameras could miss. This was tough coaching in its rawest form. For some players, that kind of moment can feel humiliating. For a rookie, it can feel even heavier, because when you're 20 years old and trying to prove you belong, every mistake feels personal. Every camera feels like it's pointed directly at you. Every word from your coach feels like the entire league is hearing it. And Bryant looked crushed. He sat there while the Spurs were winning, but inside, he looked like he was losing a battle with himself. The arena was loud. His teammates were locked in. This series was moving forward. But Carter Bryant was stuck in that moment. The mistake, the whistle, the coach's reaction, the feeling that he had let everybody down. That is where this story could have turned dark for his confidence. That is where a lot of rookies shrink. They stop playing freely. They start second-guessing everything. They become afraid of making the next mistake. But championship teams are not built only on talent. They are built on how they respond when one of their youngest players is standing on the edge of doubt. And that is when Victor Wembanyama stepped in. Not as the superstar, not as the face of the franchise, but as a teammate, as a leader. As the one person in that moment who understood that Carter Bryant did not need more noise, he needed belief. Wembanyama showed what real leadership looks like. Victor Wembanyama could have ignored him. He could have stayed focused on the game. He could have let the coaches handle it, let the moment pass, and kept his attention on the scoreboard. After all, he was the franchise player. He was the superstar. He was the reason most of the basketball world was watching San Antonio in the first place. But Wembanyama did something that told you more about him than any stat line ever could. He walked over to Carter Bryant. He put his arm around him, and in the middle of one of the loudest, most stressful moments of the playoffs, he made sure the rookie knew one thing: you are not alone. That moment mattered because leadership in the NBA is not only about scoring 30 points. It is not only about blocking shots, hitting clutch baskets, or becoming the face of a franchise. Real leadership shows up when a teammate has struggled. Real leadership shows up when a young player feels embarrassed. Real leadership shows up when someone needs belief before they can believe in themselves again. And Wembanyama gave Bryant exactly that. The cameras caught the moment, and fans immediately understood what they were seeing. This was not fake. This was not a performance for attention. This was a young superstar protecting an even younger teammate from being swallowed by pressure. Then, after the game, Wembanyama made it even clearer. He told Bryant he was proud of him. Not because Bryant had played perfectly, not because he had avoided mistakes, but because Bryant had stayed in the fight. That is the kind of message that can change a player's confidence. Because when the best player on your team still believes in you after your worst moment, something inside you shifts. The shame becomes fuel. The mistake becomes a lesson. The pressure becomes something you can carry. And for Carter Bryant, that support may have been the difference between shrinking under the lights and coming back strong. This is why the Spurs' future feels different. Wembanyama is not just building his own legacy. He is helping build the players around him. He is creating trust. He is creating accountability. He is creating the kind of locker room where young players can be coached hard, fail publicly, and still feel protected by the people beside them. That is rare. And for San Antonio, it may be priceless because Carter Bryant did not forget that moment. He carried it with him. And 2 games later, when the Spurs needed someone to stand in front of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Bryant played like a rookie who had already been through the fire. Who is Carter Bryant? To understand why this moment became so powerful, you have to understand who Carter Bryant really is. He was not drafted to be the face of the Spurs. He was not expected to become the headline of a Western Conference Finals series. And he definitely was not supposed to become the rookie suddenly standing in front of one of the most dangerous scorers in the world. Carter Bryant arrived in San Antonio as a project with serious upside, a long, athletic forward, a defensive-minded player, a young prospect with the kind of body, instincts, and energy that coaches dream about, but also the kind of rawness that takes time to shape. He came from California, he played at Arizona, and when the Spurs selected him, the vision was clear. They were not just drafting points, they were drafting tools, length, physicality, versatility, defensive hunger. A player who could one day guard multiple positions, switch across the floor, battle bigger bodies, and make life uncomfortable for stars who are used to getting whatever they want. But one day was supposed to mean later, not now, not as a rookie, not in the Western Conference Finals, not against Oklahoma City, and definitely not against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. During the regular season, Bryant was not a major name in the rotation. His minutes were limited, his numbers were quiet, most casual fans barely noticed him. But inside the Spurs organization, something different was happening. The coaches saw the work, they saw the way he accepted criticism, they saw the way he competed in practice. They saw a player who did not run from difficult assignment. That matters in the NBA. Because talent gets you drafted, but mentality keeps you on the floor. And Carter Bryant had the kind of mentality San Antonio values. He wanted to be coached. He wanted honesty. He wanted the uncomfortable truth because he understood something many young players take years to learn. Compliments can make you comfortable, but hard coaching can make you better. That is why the Game 4 moment did not destroy him. It revealed him. The mistake hurt. The criticism hurt. The embarrassment was real. But deep down, Bryant had already chosen the harder path. He wanted to become a great defender, not just a highlight player, not just a young athlete with potential, a real defender, the kind of player who changes playoff possessions, the kind of player who earns trust when the season is on the line. And suddenly, the Spurs were about to find out how ready he really was. The defensive weapon San Antonio was hiding. The Spurs did not need Carter Bryant to become a star overnight. They needed something much simpler and much harder. They needed him to compete. They needed him to defend. They needed him to step into ugly possessions, absorb contact, follow the game plan, and not look terrified when the opponent across from him had an MVP trophy attached to his name. That is why Bryant became so valuable. He was not trying to control the offense. He was not demanding shots. He was not chasing attention. His job was to bring pressure, energy, size, and discipline. And for a young player, That role is brutal because defensive mistakes do not always show up in the box score, but coaches see everything. One bad angle, one late rotation, one unnecessary reach, one moment of panic against the superstar. That can be enough to lose trust. But Bryant kept earning chances because he had something San Antonio could not ignore. He had defensive courage. He was willing to guard bigger players. He was willing to chase quicker players. He was willing to take the uncomfortable matchup and learn from it, even if it meant getting exposed. That is what separates a normal rookie from a playoff rookie. Most young players want the highlight. Bryant wanted the assignment. He understood that if he could become the kind of defender the Spurs trusted in high-pressure minutes, his future would open up. And San Antonio needed exactly that. Around Victor Wembanyama, the Spurs are not just building a team full of scorers. They are building a system. Long arms, switchable bodies, smart defenders, players who can survive chaos without falling apart. Bryant fits that vision perfectly. He may not be the loudest name. He may not be the biggest star, but in a playoff series, the smallest roles can decide the biggest moments. A defensive stop can change a quarter. A physical possession can change momentum. A rookie refusing to back down can change the emotional temperature of an entire series. And that is what made Bryant dangerous. He did not need to score 25 points to matter. He only needed 8 fearless minutes. 8 minutes of pressure. 8 minutes of resistance. 8 minutes where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had to feel him on every step. That was the hidden weapon San Antonio had been developing. And when the moment finally came, Mitch Johnson was ready to use it. The assignment that changed everything. Then came the assignment that changed the entire story. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Not a young scorer still trying to figure out playoff basketball. Not a role player standing in the corner. Not someone the Spurs could ignore for even one possession. SGA was the engine of Oklahoma City. The rhythm. The pressure point. The player who could turn a quiet quarter into a nightmare with 3 smooth drives, 2 free throws, and 1 impossible mid-range jumper. Guarding him is not normal defense. It is mental punishment. He moves slowly until you relax. He changes pace until your feet betray you. He leans into contact without losing balance. He makes defenders feel like they are always one mistake away from a whistle, a bucket, or both. And now Carter Bryant, a rookie who barely played heavy minutes in the regular season, was being asked to stand in front of that. That is not just a matchup, that is a test of identity. For San Antonio, it was a gamble. For Bryant, it was a chance. The same player who had looked crushed after Game 4 was now being trusted in one of the most difficult defensive situations in the league, and that trust said everything. Mitch Johnson was not putting Bryant out there because he felt sorry for him. He was not giving him a soft recovery moment. He was putting him in the fire because he believed the rookie had something real. Length, strength, instinct, and most importantly, the nerve to compete. When Bryant picked up SGA, the building could feel the tension. Every possession became a question. Could the kid stay disciplined? Could he avoid cheap fouls? Could he survive the footwork, the shoulder bumps, the hesitation moves, the constant pressure? Or would SGA expose him the way superstars expose rookies every spring? But Bryant did not play like someone asking for mercy. He played like someone who remembered every second of being embarrassed. He played like someone who had heard his coach's words, felt the sting, and turned it into focus. He stayed low. He fought through contact. He refused to give SGA clean space. He made the MVP work. And in playoff basketball, that is sometimes all it takes. Because when a superstar has to work harder than expected, the entire game starts to shift. The Spurs saw it, the crowd felt it, and Carter Bryant suddenly looked less like a nervous rookie and more like a problem Oklahoma City had not prepared for. The viral moment that changed his name. And then it happened. The possession that turned Carter Bryant from a quiet rookie into a name NBA fans suddenly had to learn. SGA had the ball. The Thunder needed control. The Spurs were trying to keep pressure on the defending champions, and Bryant was standing right in front of him. This was the kind of moment where rookies usually get hunted. The superstar sees the young defender, slows the game down, calls for space, and turns inexperience into points. But Carter Bryant did not move like prey. He moved like a player who had been waiting for this exact chance. He stayed attached. He absorbed the movement. He refused to give Shai the comfortable rhythm he usually lives in. And when contact came, Bryant did not disappear. He stood there, strong, balanced, unshaken. For one shocking stretch, the MVP did not look untouchable. He looked bothered. He looked crowded. He looked like he had to fight for every inch. That is why the clip spread so fast. Because fans were not just watching a defensive possession. They were watching a young player rewrite his own story in real time. 2 games earlier, Bryant was the rookie sitting on the sideline with his head down. Now, he was the rookie stepping into the chest of one of the league's most respected stars. That contrast made the moment powerful. It was not about disrespect. It was not about trash talk. It was about response. The NBA is full of players with talent, But the players who last are the ones who can take embarrassment, pressure, criticism, and fear and turn all of it into fuel. That is what Bryant did. He did not run from the moment that hurt him. He came back and used it, and the reaction inside the Spurs told you everything. Wembanyama had seen the lowest point. He had seen Bryant's frustration. He had been the one to put an arm around him when the rookie needed support. So when Bryant stood up to SGA, it meant something deeper. It was not just a basketball play, it was growth. It was trust paying off. It was a young teammate proving that encouragement did not go to waste. And suddenly, the Spurs had more than a win. They had a new subplot, a new weapon, a new reason for the rest of the league to worry. Because if Carter Bryant could handle this moment at 20 years old, what happens when he gets stronger, smarter, and fully confident? That is the question San Antonio fans are asking now. And it is the question the rest of the NBA may not want answered. The fall of the defending champions. While Carter Bryant was creating his own moment, Oklahoma City was falling apart. The Thunder were the defending champions. They had SGA, confidence, and playoff experience. But against San Antonio, everything became harder. Every drive met length. Every shot felt contested. Every possession demanded more energy. SGA still fought like a superstar. He still carried the offense. But San Antonio kept forcing him into difficult decisions, and the Thunder slowly lost control. That is what made this series feel bigger than one upset. The Spurs were not supposed to be ready this soon. Wembanyama was supposed to be the future. Carter Bryant was supposed to be developing quietly. But suddenly, the future arrived early. San Antonio beat Oklahoma City with defense, belief, and young players who refused to fear the moment. For the Thunder, this was painful because SGA did not quit. But greatness alone was not enough. The Spurs had found their identity. A superstar who leads, a coach who demands, a rookie who responds, and a franchise that looked ready for the NBA Final. Oklahoma City's fall may not just be the end of one champion's run. It may be the beginning of San Antonio's next era. A new Spurs dynasty is taking shape. Now the question becomes bigger than one series. Are the San Antonio Spurs becoming the NBA's next dynasty? Because what happened against Oklahoma City did not feel random. It felt like a preview. Victor Wembanyama is already the centerpiece, the kind of once-in-a-generation player every franchise dreams of building around. His size, skill, defense, and leadership give San Antonio a foundation almost no team can match. But even Wembanyama cannot build a dynasty alone. That is why Carter Bryant matters. That is why Stephon Castle matters. That is why the Spurs' young core suddenly feels so dangerous. They are not just collecting talent. They are building roles. Wembanyama is the franchise star. Castle is the fearless perimeter defender. Bryant is the rising two-way weapon who can take punishment, accept coaching, and come back stronger. That combination is frightening because playoff basketball is not only about highlights, it is about trust. It is about players knowing exactly who they are when the pressure rises. And San Antonio's young players are learning that faster than expected. Bryant's emergence gives the Spurs something every championship team needs. A player willing to do the hard jobs without needing the spotlight. He can defend, he can switch, he can bring energy, and most importantly, he has already shown that failure does not scare him. That is rare for a rookie. The Spurs now look like a team with a superstar, a culture, and young players who are growing through real playoff battle. That is how dynasties begin, not with one perfect season, but with one moment where everyone realizes the future has arrived ahead of schedule. And after what Carter Bryant showed against SGA, San Antonio's future suddenly looks much closer than anyone expected. The real lesson behind Carter Bryant's rise. The biggest lesson from this story is not that Carter Bryant challenged SGA. It is not that the Spurs eliminated the defending champion. And it is not even that Victor Wembanyama looked like the future face of the NBA. The real lesson is what happened after failure. Carter Bryant made mistakes in front of millions of people. He was criticized, he was embarrassed, he looked shaken, but he did not disappear. He listened, he learned, he came back stronger. That is what separates potential from real growth. Every young player wants praise, but not every young player can handle correction. Bryant proved he could take hard coaching without losing his hunger, and Wembanyama proved something just as important. A true leader does not only shine when everything is going well, a true leader steps forward when a teammate feels small, hurt, or alone. That moment on the sideline may become one of the most important moments of San Antonio's new era, because championships are not built only with talent. They are built with trust. They are built with patience. They are built with people who push each other, protect each other, and believe in each other when the world starts doubting. For Carter Bryant, this may only be the beginning. For Victor Wembanyama, this may be the first sign of the culture he is creating. And for the Spurs, this may be the start of something powerful, peaceful, and lasting. A team built not on ego, but on discipline, sacrifice, and unity. So if you believe Carter Bryant's story is just getting started, hit the like button. If you believe San Antonio is building the NBA's next great dynasty, subscribe to the channel and share this video with a real basketball fan, because years from now, we may look back at this series as the moment the new Spurs era truly began.